Studios. The cinematic duo. Now, here are your hosts, Paula Perez and Trevor Kriminek.
Hallmark movies. I mean,
your favorite kind of movie?
Sure. Okay. Now, I think I did tell you the story, but I had not really a friend, but more of a colleague in school. This was before high school, who came up with this theory that he thought that Hallmark made up Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day just to sell cards and movies.
What? I mean,
I guess I didn't.
I guess that makes sense, no? To make up stupid holidays just
yeah,
to...
but then we kind of looked at him like we were just so puzzled about him, like, wait, what? Like, no, it's a business. That's how businesses work. They'll do stuff like that. I think it was me. I said, like, it sounds like someone didn't get enough Valentines when they were kids.
Which is kind of weird. I guess it depends on the time period you were born in, but I thought Valentine's was kind of obligatory for everyone in the classroom, no?
Yeah, because because in elementary school, on Valentine's Day, you were given a piece of paper with all your classmates' names on them, and you had to get something for every single one of them. So I think every year I brought, I think it was the Nerds candy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I just brought that, and then was just wrote like, "Happy Valentine's Day from me," drop, and then you would bring it to school, and then for Valentine's Day, you would have maybe like an hour of learning, and then the rest of the day was pretty much just a party.
And then you just see like a bunch of kids open up candy that they got with their
yeah. So, and then every student had their own bag, so everybody had to get something. It's only what made it fair. So, and that was also the best time for you to try to win over your teacher. So if you to basically say like, yeah, I'm your teacher's pet. Like, here's a big giant golden apple that's actually chocolate. Oh, here's a giant teddy bear.
I don't think I ever gave my teachers anything for Valentine's.
I feel like I did
at all.
Yeah, I feel like I did, but I don't remember.
I know Angelica did. I think she still did up until high school. She would just get Toblerones. But I think that was for Christmas, not necessarily for Valentine's.
So, yeah, I don't know. But Hallmark loves to capitalize on these holidays. It's not just Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day. It's also, Christmas. Christmas is the big moneymaker for them. And
listen, it's so much. They got rom-coms, they got baking, they got marriage, they got dating, they got a whole nother section just for like friendship. I don't. How can you make so many movies about friendship?
I don't
know. It's always a stupid title too. Like the romance movies. It's always like Love in California.
Christmas
time. How do you make a movie that says Love in California? There's no difference. And if you were like in Utah,
it's a love in fill in the blank.
Basically, I think I can look it up right now, and it's just like an endless amount of like love in Africa or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's moneymaker for them.
It is. Let me see.
So I know a lot of people that love to watch them, and I'm going like, okay, but do you like watching them, but you know that they're bad? And then a lot of them say yes, and I'm like, okay, then that's fine. And then one of them said like, "Oh no, I actually like legitimately like liked them." And I'm like, "Okay, but you realize that, you know, if they're not, lack of a better word, they're not good." And they went, "No, I actually like really like them." I'm like, "Oh, so there's just no hope for you." Got it.
But I'll say this much: there are some movies that are good, but it's usually like the movies that they did first for a certain genre. Like the first like 5 movies are always different, but then after that they use the same
Copy and
the
paste.
same trope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
So
copy
it
and
just
paste.
kind of gets boring. Yeah. So here it is. It says here that for every 42 movies, they spend $2 million for 42 movies. $2 million to make all 42 movies.
Oof.
And they come in with $350 million after everybody watches. So that's how much money they make after.
So yeah, what
So
2 million divided by 42, that's how much money they throw in their budgets.
which is really not that much money when you think of it.
Yeah, like
Budget
that's
movie, maybe not, but
that's that's
like
not good.
$47,000 for every movie. That doesn't seem like a lot for a
That
movie.
okay, on the surface, that's if you look at that, that's a lot of money.
Oh,
But
okay.
if you look at it for making a movie, that's not a lot of money. That is it's not.
That is like
That's like
going to the
that's
mall with
Blair Witch
$20 in
money.
your pocket.
Yeah, that's Blair Witch money. I mean,
Please.
hell, even like the original Halloween was done for like shoot. It was around that. I think it was around that budget. And Paranormal Activity, I know, was less than that. And yeah, and so they spend $42,000 on every movie. Yeah.
I mean, they do look like they only spent $42,000 on a movie. It looks like the majority of it went to renting the little house and maybe blocking off one section of a little town that they found.
Yeah.
And then the rest is to really bad wardrobe and paying off everyone.
Yeah.
So and it's usually not like
wardrobe that you can
use
find at a
famous
Walmart.
actors anyways. Yeah.
I think a lot of those budgets have to go to finding the cast, but also mainly finding locations. I think that's mainly where the budget goes. Because when it comes to like you said, with wardrobe, that's pretty much like Walmart, if you're lucky. I'm sorry, Target if you're lucky, Walmart if you're like bleeding money.
Bleeding.
Sure. But yeah, I don't I don't watch them because I'm like, I'd rather watch an actual movie. But it's another money making thing for Hallmark, and whatever way they can make money. So, whatevs.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They'll never stop with this much money that they're earning, putting in effort. So
people keep gobbling it up.
What are you gonna do about it?
But whatever. So yay, Hallmark movies. They're pretty much just gonna last forever. They'll probably continue to make them in the apocalypse. If the apocalypse happens,
it'll just be apocalypse themed.
Yeah, it'll be love in the apocalypse. That's what it'll be. Yeah, the apocalypse will consist of, let's see, cockroaches, giant mutated rats, and Hallmark movies.
There you go.
So
you go.
So yeah, the end of days happen. We have Hallmark movies to look forward to. Honestly, if I think the apocalypse is going to happen, I would probably think it's probably going to be like Mad Max. It's probably going to be Mad Max meets The Purge.
Fair enough.
That's what I I picture the apocalypse being. It's just like, yeah, we're all racing around on like decked out cars and just, just endless murdering for no reason. Like, because, who needs friends?
Yeah, exactly.
And, that's what I feel. But, but then, as dreadful as Hallmark movies are, or depending on where you stand with that, remakes.
I hate remakes so much with a passion.
Don't we all? I mean, there's some remakes out there that are good and are they are good. Like for me, I always harken back to the Ring.
Okay.
That one I actually liked. And there's some other like remakes or like reimagined stuff where I'm like, okay, that's fine. You actually did something different. And in some cases like The Ring, or I feel like the remake to Evil Dead, where I'm like, okay, you kind of did something different, but you still were respectful, and you made it your own. Over reboots where they just do the same thing and it just doesn't work. And yeah, oh boy.
I think the same thing with like, I think it's the same on the same premise with what they did with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It went from like the first one being the best, the second one being kind of weird, and the third one, the new one with Timothée Chalamet, being really, really what the hell just happened in the past 20 years of this movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that one is that with Willy Wonka, that one, it's one of the few musicals I actually like.
Mm-hmm.
With Charlie, that one was, well, closer to the book. It was done by Tim Burton, so it was just like, what the hell is this? So and I feel like if I do like Tim Burton's stuff, but I think when he needs to have certain properties that I'm going like, okay, you know what, I see you doing this, like Addams Family, or like Sweeney Todd or Sleepy Hollow, where with those ones I'm like, okay, you know what, that actually works with you. But if you give him something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or Planet of the Apes, I'm just like, what the hell is this? And yeah, the first time I saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I was like, what is happening? Like, what the hell is this? And then I haven't seen the new Wonka yet. There's parts of me that do want to check it out because it's the same director as Paddington, and Paddington is actually pretty good.
Okay. I do quite enjoy the Paddington movies too.
Mm-hmm. But I swear, every time that I see Hugh Grant as that Oompa Loompa, I'm just like, oh my god, nope, I don't think I can do it. Even he said that he hated it. Yeah, I'm just like, oh boy, dude. Okay.
I don't mind a good musical, but as long as the musical is good and they have good actors and they have actors that can sing, or just in general, anyone that can sing with emotion would be fine.
Well,
that's why I had a big problem with it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, still haven't seen it, but that's a lot of thing with those type of movies, is that if they're musicals or like dance films, if the main focus is good, then there's really nothing you need to complain about. So like the Step Up movies, as long as the dancing is good, we're fine, because that's a dance movie. Exactly. Everything on the outside is just like, oh yeah, that's right, they just care about the dancing, and that's what it's meant to be. It's kind of the same thing with musicals, is some of them do have extensive stories, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or like Sweeney Todd, or even um Les Mis. And
Right.
it's like
Right.
the songs, they're help telling the story, and it works. And then there's some musicals like Cats where they'll just, throw the songs in, and I'm like, these are just terrible. And
Okay,
in
the
a
musical,
terrible
the
movie
action musical
anyway.
is really
But
great. The movie isn't, and you know that.
yeah. Even like even with Cats, with like I've seen like some clips of the Broadway show, and I'm like, okay, that looks cool, but eh, okay. Um, like, I had a friend of mine who, when I showed him the trailer for Cats, he's a big fan of musicals, and he
Hmm.
said like, I like a lot of musicals except for Rent and Cats. And I'm like,
I've never seen
ooh,
Rent, so
eh, a lot of people like to hate on Rent because, I mean, not that it's wrong to, because it's not that great.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so with it depends, but yeah, when with remakes, as if they're doing something different with it and not trying to harken back to what they're remaking, then to be honest, they did it. But a lot of remakes don't do that. They love to try to make their own story and then go, "Oh, but remember how this was in the one that we are remaking? Well, guess what? Here you go." And it's like, "Okay, but why are you doing that? Like, you don't need to do that." Even like something like, if they wanted to remake Halloween, but it was a completely different character. It wasn't Michael Myers. It was a completely different villain.
Right.
You're doing
Hmm.
your own thing. But then in the last, 15 minutes, you then have some schmo that picks up the William Shatner mask and then is in the rest of the movie. And it's like, whoa, what just happened? Were you doing that for fan service, or people to try to get people in the seats? Because that's another thing remakes love to do, is show
Right.
you a whole bunch of stuff that is like, hey, this looks familiar to you. Well, come see a new version of it, and possibly shitty version of it. Um, it's I don't know, remakes. To me, it's always hit and miss. Like I said, there's some remakes that I actually like, and then there's a lot of them where I'm just like, why are you doing this? And most of the time, it's for no apparent reason. But you know, um, but then there's, people throwing around the like, oh, but it's a reboot, but it's also a sequel, like the 2016 Ghostbusters, where it was like, oh, it's a reboot, but it's also a sequel. It's like, no, it's not. It's a full remake.
Hmm.
But what it, unless I misread something, which probably did. They said that movie takes place 30 years after the second movie, and I'm going like,
30
I don't,
years?
I'm probably misreading on it, and I'm more than likely wrong on it. But the way that they were pitching it and the way that they were promoting it was to make it look like, oh, it actually takes place in the same universe as the original. And it's like,
Hmm.
that's ridiculous, because here's the thing that I actually liked about, like Afterlife, um was, yeah, it was like 30 plus years since the original. um Everybody kind of looks back at that as saying like, yeah, it happened, but whatever. I mean, it's even, even in the movies, like, yeah, New York in the 80s, it's like The Walking Dead now. It's just like, no one really talks about it. So
Right.
it, and so then it's, this big thing that was growing that then makes everybody step back up and go like, oh yeah, that's right, this is actually a thing. They're a thing, and this stuff is real. And yeah, so but yeah, the way that they were pitching that one was supposed to be like 30 years after, the original, when everyone apparently just got amnesia in New York.
Bro.
And yeah, it made no sense. And I mean, I've ranted about that movie numerous times, and yeah, but then they decided to step back and say like, all right, let's rethink this. Let's go back and, do a proper movie. So then they did Afterlife, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're getting the next one, which is Frozen Empire in March. Which, did you see the trailer for that?
I have not yet.
Oh my god, looks so good. Let's just say there's two. Well, of course you're gonna see the OG Ghostbusters back. You're gonna see them.
Okay. Oh really?
But
Okay. Cool.
There's two characters from the original that show up, and let's just say one of them is a disgusting blob, and the other one is still dickless. And that's all I'm gonna say. If you remember the first movie, you know who I'm talking about.
Okay. Can't remember the first movie, so.
Sounds like I need to give you like bigger hints, or just flat out tell you.
No. I'm okay.
Okay.
Nope. Nope.
All right. But yeah, so two characters from the original are coming back to this one. And then I think they were saying that I think I heard something that the villain for this one is supposed to be a villain from the real Ghostbusters cartoon. So it's like, okay, so they're embracing that stuff, was, as an asset. And it's not just like a one-off thing. They're actually bringing that in and saying like, okay, this can actually work in, live action format, which is cool. I'm glad they're doing that. There's even like some episodes from the Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon that I'm like, yeah, if they did that, I was like, whoa, this is going to be very mature. Because yeah, there's an episode from that one, the Extreme Ghostbusters. Have you heard of that one?
I have.
That one takes place after the events of the real Ghostbusters cartoon, where Egon assembles a group of rookies.
Okay.
And then they go off and they do their own like hunting. Well, there's an episode where it's pretty much like their version of like Hellraiser, where these like spirits are kidnapping people and like forging them with metal.
What in the world? Okay.
Yeah, it was back when, cartoons were actually not just for kids, but also like for adults. And it was also kind of during that weird phase in animation when, we were getting like, like Courage the Cowardly Dog or like Ren and Stimpy, where they would be a lot like, more like harder for kids. And, that was that kind of time period that those were coming out at. But it was kind of like if they're able to do that, that would be like really impressive. And like, oh boy, like,
That would be super impressive. realistically, but I wonder if they could.
Yeah. I mean, there's still some episodes from the real Ghostbusters that are still very cool and interesting. Like, there's an episode where I think it was Janine and Lewis, they get kidnapped by a ghost, and the ghost calls the Ghostbusters and says, hey, look, if you want them back, you need to give me the entire operations. So they're like, so it's a ghost that wants to bust ghosts. So it was almost like a mafia thing.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of cool the way they did it. Then there was another one where it was a trio of ghosts that were really sick and tired of the Ghostbusters. So they forged a false ghost hunting business, and they would just show up at different places and haunt it themselves, but then pass on as the employees. So it's like they got there before the Ghostbusters did to try and get them out of business. So they like to play with that kind of stuff, and then they did one that was about the boogeyman, like always being in your closet and stuff. Well, it was an actual being that called himself the boogeyman, and he lived in like an alternate universe where it's just doors everywhere, and all those doors were closet doors. So I was like, that's cool.
That is cool, but that's super creepy for me. But that is super cool.
But yeah, that's what they were doing. So it was, it's kind of cool for them to take this one and go like, oh, we want to make this canon, and if you look at the real Ghostbusters, it is canon, and like here it is, and it works. So it's really interesting, and I'm really curious to see what they do with it. And yeah, end of March,
which is pretty good.
Yeah, so right around the corner. Right around the corner. So yay. But I know a lot of people that, saw Afterlife and just went, this is pretty much a remake of the first movie. I'm like, that's kind of what they needed to do in order to bring this back. And the way they did it, I liked the way they did it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was clever, and it was also a nice, heartwarming moment for fans as well. I can't tell you how many tears I shedded at the very end of that movie during the climax.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, yeah, if you tell my little brother, he would tell you like, oh yeah, he was bawling.
Oh my God. Did you have tissues on you?
Yeah, because pretty much like what we watched, I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah. And then I told him, like, when we see Frozen Empire, there's probably not going to be any moments like that, but who knows? They may pull something and it may get me. Because yeah, I take Ghostbusters very seriously. So it sucks to say that my expectations are very high. I don't want them to be, but because it's Ghostbusters and because it's, a series that the first movie is my favorite movie of all time, you really can't, put your expectations lower. So it's really hard, but but then there's some like people that are saying like, oh, this movie needs a remake. This movie needs a remake. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Like, shut up. Like, some people are still trying to throw around that Back to the Future should be remake. should be
No,
remade.
no, I really don't think that movie should be touched ever. No,
Well, and then they
like
they did like a deep fake where it was Tom Holland as Marty and Robert Downey Jr. as Doc, and it's just like, just stop. And then I remember Holland saw that and went, dude, if you're gonna remake Back to the Future, you might as well just remake every single movie that comes out.
basically.
And then yeah, it's like, yep. So even he's saying like, no, I'm not doing that. So
Even he
one of the
knows.
few times I think Holland actually you know put on the brake, because yeah, I think he was a good young Nathan Drake in Uncharted, but honestly, they did a short film where it was Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, oh my god, that's so much better. Um, yeah, instead of yeah, that one, it was like a 12-minute short film, and they pretty much played it like it was a cutscene in the game, and then the action stuff was pretty much like you were watching someone play the game. So it was pretty cool the way they did it. But yeah, it was Nathan Fillion as Drake, and then Sully was Stephen Lang, who
Okay.
if you've seen like like Don't Breathe or
Mm-hmm.
Avatar, uh yeah, we saw that. I'm like, you know what? I can actually see both of them. I could see him as those characters. And then when they announced like, yeah, they're doing an Uncharted movie, I'm like, okay, cool. There's only really one person that I can fit both those two roles. And they said, oh, it's Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. I'm like, no, you're losing me here. Like, you're
Mark
really
Wahlberg
losing
would
me.
have done good if he was like the older version. But I think Tom
Yeah,
Holland did a pretty good job. I mean, for me, I played all the games. But I didn't quite. I enjoyed the movie, but I wouldn't have like put it on any top list for
it's
like
it's it's a
game
popcorn
movies.
movie.
Yeah, it's like a movie you'd want to sit down and watch and just get confused on. You know?
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
then yeah. So if they decide to do a second one, they need to do it with the two of them, man, because it's like, yeah, that's, I see that one more than these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um but then that also happens a lot where you hear about something happening and you're like, oh, I see one person that can play that role, and they don't pick that person, and then you're like, oh well, that sucks. And sometimes they can, you know it's kind of like a, yep, see, like, this is exactly what I thought. Or they'll surprise the hell out of you. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, one example would be when they announced that they were doing the Wednesday series. They didn't say anything about how it was going to be, her as a teenager and going to school. They didn't say anything like that. So I'm going, oh, if they're doing a Wednesday series, there should be only one person that should do it. And that was, to me, that was reachy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then they announced like, oh, it's actually, she's going to school and she's a teenager, and like, okay, who are you gonna pick? And then they picked Ortega, which then I watched. I think I told you this, that I watched both the newest Scream, which I think was the fifth one, and then
Mm-hmm.
X. And I was like, oh, she can act. Like, okay,
Yeah, she's
let's
not a bad actor at
yeah, like,
all.
yeah, let's see what you do. And then yeah, I mean, we talked about the Wednesday show, but yeah, it was kind of like, wow, you actually were able to pull it off. Nice work. And there's a lot of that. So yeah, but you know, overall, with remakes, you know, people are still trying to remake Star Wars: The Last Jedi. They're
No.
still trying to remake
No.
that. And it's like, guys, just let it go.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it's
I get it. We'd all want to restart it, but I feel like you should leave all these like older series, movies, and stuff. Just leave it alone. There's
yeah,
no point.
no. Well, and then You know, a lot of people are saying like, yeah, the MCU should either just stop or stop, put on the brakes, and rethink everything, or restart the whole thing. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
restarting the whole thing would be a good thing, because to me, you can keep the first three phases. I'm, good with that. But it's really when it started hitting phase 4 when it started getting a little sloppy. But it does happen. But I'm like, all right, I can see this pick up. I can see where this stuff can pick up. And then phase 5 is out, and it's like, what the hell is happening? So yeah. I mean, they said that they're probably not going to do season 2 of She-Hulk, mainly because they blew it.
They did blow it. I don't know what they thought they were doing with that, but
Yeah. They don't think they have no idea what they're going to do with Secret Invasion, because that was just kind of a mess.
I think they are doing a second season or first. Well, they're doing Daredevil. I don't mean to say no, not no season, but they're doing Daredevil, right?
Yeah, I hope they don't fuck that up.
I hope so too. I think they're bringing back the original actor.
They are.
They are. So.
Charlie Cox is coming back. Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is back, and then some of the other characters from the Netflix show are coming back, and it's the same actors. So
okay.
that's what I mean. I'm like, I hope they don't fuck it up. So yeah, it's Marvel is in this just weird spot. I mean, not just because of like, Jonathan Majors and all that shit that's going on with him, but mainly because the writing. It's like it's getting really sloppy, and
right.
Yeah, it's the first 3 phases were, very, while they had their comedic elements to it, they were playing it very serious, and it was working. Now it's like, oh, comedy takes a front step and we don't give a shit about anything else. And I haven't seen a lot of the recent years of Marvel or of the MCU, because it's just been getting really sloppy to me. But I think with Ant-Man, and it was a Quantum Mania, that one I was looking at going like, okay, hold on. This is this big, big threat. It's the introduction into Kang. Like, this is the big one. Or no, it wasn't the introduction to Kang. It was Loki. But like, this is like his big, pretty much like debut of this character. Because Loki was setting him up. This is like, all right, he's here and we're going. And he gets beaten by Ant-Man. What?
Well, I understand. First of all, Quantumania was such a bad movie. Such a bad movie. Like,
I mean, I still can't get past the fact of the way MODOK looked.
Yeah,
it's like, what the hell is that? It looked like what was it in the first Puss in Boots movie? It was Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah,
he looked like him.
He did, and exactly like that.
I mean, hell, if I want to put up a side by side, look at that. It looks like Humpty Dumpty in his like golden suit, and it's like, oh my god, this is just, what the hell is happening here? And then, yeah, it kept falling apart.
It was so bad.
And then, yeah, but also I don't think just the MCU is falling apart, but also like just Marvel stuff in general is falling apart. I mean, people are already saying like, oh, Madam Web, that movie's gonna suck. And me personally, I really didn't have any, like, I had maybe a little bit of hope that it was gonna be good, but so far I'm going like, I don't really see this being good at all. And then especially with all the shit that Dakota Johnson is saying about it. I mean, today she said that they were filming with a lot of like green screen and blue screen, and she said it was idiotic.
Oh
or
my God.
it was psychotic, and it was like, you're literally saying that a couple weeks before the movie comes out. Like, why not say that after the movie's out? It's like, wow, that's kind of setting the bar low.
I mean,
then,
if she's saying it, then obviously it's not very,
yeah, and she's the main actor in the movie, and she's saying
that's crazy.
It's like
It's crazy.
when Katherine Hagel was saying that Knocked Up was sexist.
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
Bro.
As they were promoting the movie, and I was like, "Did you read what was going on?" I was like, "All right, whatever."
Some of these actors are,
Well, I don't, unless the actors, have egos, which happens all the time. It's kind of their own fault because they didn't, read. I feel like they meant to read the script, but then just read the cliff notes of it. And then when they signed on, they then read the whole script and went, fuck. I'm like, I'm invested in it. Might as well do it.
Well, I mean, you're already here. So what are you going to do about
it?
it?
You might as well just do it. So I don't know what they're doing. And yeah, like, I mean, I can see a Madam Web movie working. I can try to get past, Dakota Johnson being Madam Web. Like, it's supposed to be an origin movie. So it's like, okay,
Right.
I get it. Because the Madam Web that was in, like, the comics was older. She was elderly. So I was like, okay, I get it. All right, let's see what you do. Wait, what are you doing? Like, this is what you're working on? This is what you're focusing on? What the hell is this? Well, it's like, did you guys, like, not read any of the comics? Do you not look at that as a source material, as an asset that you can use? Do you guys care? It's like we're going back to like the 80s and 90s when superhero movies were made for cheap and made for just making money. I mean, every time when I go and look at, like, like we had, like, Captain America, we had from the 90s, which is just ridiculous. We had, like, the Fantastic Four one. We had oh shoot, it was a Spawn, which just looks atrocious by today's standards. It's like, did you guys really care? And then you had, from 2000s, like early 2000s, we had, like, Spider-Man, Blade, and X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
When those movies were coming out, it was like, oh, see, like, they're actually picking up. They're picking up slack, basically. And then it was just like, all right, there's a few stumbles, but overall, we're still doing good. Nowadays, it's going right back. It's like the cycle. Like, we're just going right back to where it was. And I was like, this is not working, guys. And it's like another thing with, like, the video game movies, is that they were doing it just to do them and make money. Nowadays, we actually can get good, like, video game movies and TV shows, to then when one comes out that's not good, it's like there's no excuse anymore. Like, there is now a blueprint on how to do these video game and comic book movies. So to see this stuff now, it's like there's no excuse anymore. Like, you can't say, well, it didn't work out because this. It's like, no, it's mainly because you didn't do your fucking homework.
Basically, like how they did the Last of Us show, like, that was perfection, in my opinion.
It also helped that they got the actual creator of the game on to help out.
I don't understand why a lot of them don't like it when they bring in the original creator. Like, who else to go to for help than the person that created the damn game you're making a movie or series about?
Well, and then that's what the Last of Us show did.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. That's it's why I just don't, like, I mean, remakes aside, if a movie is based on a property, whether it be a video game or comic book or a novel or whatever, they need to do their homework. They need to actually look at it. That's why it's also important for people to because there's a lot of the time when I see like some actors involved in like a video game movie that's like, oh yeah, I played all the games, all that stuff, and I was like, okay, great. That's one of the reasons why Henry Cavill in The Witcher worked, because he actually read the books and knew everything. So he knew how to do it, and it was like, dude, he's great because he actually read the books, which is what the show was going off of. Not anymore, because now they're going off on their own thing, which is why he left. And I'm pretty sure this show will probably get canceled.
Probably.
But now he's working on a TV show or it was either a movie or TV show for the game Warhammer.
No, Warhammer 2?
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Cavill's involved with that because he played the games. And likes the games, so he's involved with it. So it's, yeah. So it's that's what I think is most important. Like, get people who actually know know what they're doing, what they're dealing with.
Agreed.
So, yeah, but but with all that aside, atrocious movies, but we're not talking about, those bad movies that we were just talking about, but I mean like the movies like on Prime, like Prime has. So come on. I mean, I love Velocipaster. I love Lamageddon. It's just awesome. I mean, every time when it's a lot of those movies where you have like friends over and they say like, hey, have you seen this and this and this? I'm like, oh yeah, but have you seen this? Like, and what's funny about it is that I have some friends of mine that will say, like, they'll tell me like a bad movie that they liked, and like, for example, like somebody, I forget what movie it was, but I think it was probably like The Room or something like that, like one of those
Which one?
infamous bad movies, but I think he threw out like one of those like like The Room or like Troll 2, and I've seen both of those and they're amazing, but but then he said like, oh, have you seen those? I'm like, yes, but have you seen these? And then I threw out like Lamageddon, Killer Sofa, Santa Jaws. And I threw out those ones, and he's just like, oh wow, I've been failing. I'm like, yeah, you have.
You very much have.
Because my God, these are just amazing, and they're just incredible, and I love them. And yeah, I still remember when my I watched Troll 2, and then my dad, I then told my dad, you got to watch it. But in order to watch it, he had alcohol with him.
Okay.
And he had a like full, I forget how big it is, but it's like the full big bottle of Fireball. He mixed it with a 2-liter and he mixed it with Pepsi. So it was a Pepsi whiskey drink. Well, he sent me a photo that was like, okay, here's what I'm drinking. I'm like, okay, that's great. To then after the movie was over, he then sent me another picture saying, and here's what they look like after the movie was done. And he showed me a picture, and both of those bottles were empty. both the
What?
Pepsi, and it was a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. So it was like that. So it was pretty much like the big giant Pepsi bottle you get like pizza places.
Right.
Yeah, it was the liter ones, and
Yeah, the
the
big ones.
giant and the big size of Fireball whiskey.
Wow.
Gone.
Does that even taste good?
Well, I tried it, and it wasn't until the third sip when I started feeling like my throat on fire, and then I chugged it and literally almost threw up.
Bro.
So yeah, I was like, nope, this is a mixed drink. And then yeah, family was telling me like, yeah, that's a mixed drink. Like that's something you have to throw in a chaser for that. Yeah, and I was just like, why did you just okay. So I think I told him like after that, I'm like, okay, Dad, put down the phone and go lay down. Because you drank that entire bottle. So yeah, but Troll 2, I love that film.
I love any of the Troll movies, even the newer one.
Well, you know what's even funny about Troll 2 is
Mhm.
there's no trolls in it.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
because they're all goblins, and the whole thing with that one is they're all vegetarian goblins, and that was actually put forward from the director's wife. Was for the goblins to be vegetarians.
Huh. Okay.
And I'm like, why? And there was like a whole thing about it, but you know, I don't really remember it all that well. But then when I watched like something like Killer Sofa, where no bullshit, it felt like they were legit trying to make a like legit horror movie, because there were some things in there where I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool the way they're doing it. Like on sofas, you'll have like those like buttons on them.
Right.
Well, they treat those like they're like eyes. So I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool, because that's, you know, those buttons would be something that you would see on couches or sofas, and they're using it to their advantage. Okay, this is actually, you know, a lot different than I thought I was going to get into. And then that damn sofa was moving, and I'm like, oh, that's right, this is supposed to be dumb. So it felt like I was legit watching like just a funny, or just like they're actually being a lot smarter than I thought they were going to be. And yeah, and then that was quite the experience. But I love those kind of movies. They're fun party movies.
I remember the first time watching Santa Jaws, where she recommended it. One of the best movies I've seen so far. I've yet to watch any of the other ones, though. So that's going to be an experience, too.
Have you not seen Velocipaster?
I've seen that one.
Okay, so it was Lamageddon, Santa Jaws, or not,
Killer Sofa.
Killer Sofa. What about Troll 2?
No, I've seen the first one. I haven't seen the other one.
Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
I've seen the recent one, and I've seen the first one, but I haven't seen Troll 2.
Oh my god! All right, guess what we're doing?
Oh god!
No, seriously, like it's so ridiculous. Like you're gonna laugh at it.
I bet I will.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's fucking atrocious, but it's amazing. But yeah, but you know, but speaking of experiences when it comes to movies, so people have been talking about this movie for a bit, and then you and I both checked it out. Saltburn. Okay.
You want to bring your eyes out after this movie, but it was a good movie.
Okay.
Just a weird one.
So this movie has gotten a lot of press lately over the past like month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying, "Oh my god, it's a really shocking movie," and like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this slid past a lot of people." And like, what are you thinking? This is a snuff film? What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? So the main, the plot of the movie is you have this guy and he's going to Oxford. And he's pretty much, lack of a better word, a nerd. But he's not like that, like greased up, hunchback, nerd, book carrying guy. He's very much book smart. But he's not like like a stereotypical nerd that you would see in like all those movies. He's smart, but there's something there's something to him that it's like, all right, he's a smart guy. So then he falls in with the cool kids and this one guy, and they start hanging out and all that stuff. And then when it comes time for summer, something tragic happens in the guy's life, which it was Oliver, I think was his name. And,
yes, Oliver.
Yeah, so something happens in his life that it's bad. So then his friend, who I forget his name,
Elix,
or Felix.
Felix.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Elix. If you ever get an eel, name him Elix. So then, Felix says, "Hey, dude, come visit. Come stay with my family at my house in Saltburn, where you find out that his family is crazy."
Very.
But throughout the course of the movie, you start to realize, like, maybe the family's not so much the crazy one. They let the crazy one in the house. And that's pretty much the core construct of Saltburn. And, yeah. I mean, I watched this movie. I mean, I remember seeing the trailer for it, like, like months and months and months ago. But I was going like, okay, that looks interesting, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And then it wasn't until recently when everybody started talking about it, and then you brought it up to me. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And then I watched it, and then told you what I thought of it, and then you watched it. So, yeah. So,
okay.
So the shocking parts,
there was quite a few of them.
Quite a few.
I will say that. Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few shocking parts. Mainly one, let's see. Won't say exactly what happens, but let's, one involves a bathtub. One involves,
dancing inside the house. Not so.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say one that involves, a person in front of a grave. Let's just say
I don't. Yeah, I don't think we want to go more into detail about that one.
Which actually, did you know that part was improvised?
Are you serious? He thought about that himself?
Yep. Because this certain part is supposed to be so messed up that I was like, hey, what if we just did this? And they just went, let's just do it. And so they did it. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe they did that.
I did not know that.
But, despite all those shocking parts, I know a lot of people were talking about it, saying like it would have been a better movie if they stopped, or they weren't playing the shock card as much. So like, let's keep shocking people. But to me, those shocking moments, I understood like why they did it and why it was detrimental to the actual characters. It may not have been, to the story, but if it's to the characters, it makes sense. So I didn't see that as much as a problem as, a lot of people did. But there were definitely those shocking parts where I just had like a disgusted look on my face, like, what are you doing? And so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even I wouldn't know how to react to all of that.
Well, and then also it, this is definitely a movie where it's like it's not for everyone at all. At
Mm-hmm.
all. I would say if the um homophobes are gonna hate this movie, like for sure. But it's yeah, it's quite a movie, and it's a movie where it's like, wow, we don't see this a lot at all. And I will also give credit to the actors. They committed. And yeah, especially
Yeah.
the ones that had to do a lot of the crazy shocking scenes. I was like, wow, that takes balls, and you got them. Nice work.
I know. I mean, the actor that played um Oliver did a really great job with that character too. I think his name is Barry Cogan. Barry Cogan.
I've seen him in a couple of things. To me, he was one of the more useless characters in the MCU's Eternals, where he was kind of like, you're just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen him in some other stuff, and I liked him in that. The guy that plays Felix, I know he's gonna be Frankenstein's monster in Guillermo del Toro's version.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, I know Jacob Elordi from when he did Euphoria.
I never watched the show.
It's for people that have, I don't know how to put this.
Issues.
Probably, yeah. You just got to turn your brain off watching it, But and then from there he did Elvis.
At least it's not like 13 Reasons Why, where I go like, I can give you 13 reasons why I'm not watching the show ever again because it's stupid. But
I know
that's just me. But yeah, the acting is great, and it's definitely disturbing in in everything that's happening. It's all build up to then when shit hits, they don't they're I always like how they're trying to be like that, very much almost like Downton Abbey, where everyone is like trying to be like uptight and perfect and like calm, but then when all this stuff is happening, they're still trying to remain calm, but then all that like tension and anger and like multiple emotions, they're like coming out, and it's like, see, that's real. So it's I really like that. It felt like a complete like 180, like a part where they're eating breakfast after something horrific happens, and they're just like, all of them are having their own emotions, and like some of them are trying to remain calm, and some are just like are just like decompressing like what is going on,
right.
and so it's almost like they're like blanking out, and yeah, it just is happening, and it feels very real in that sense, because there's there's moments where something tragic or insane that can happen, and every single person that's around you can have a completely different emotion going on. Like you yourself could be like decompressing, but there's people around you that are trying to remain calm about it and trying to hide the fact that they're like, it's messed up. So it brings out that realism that I really liked in the movie. And I do think that this is a good movie, and I don't think that the shocking moments that people were talking about, I don't think I didn't have a problem with them. It made sense for the characters. It was still fucked up to see, obviously. But I still thought, it's a good movie. And yeah. So that's how I feel about it.
I agree with you. It is a very good movie. If you can get past some of like the creepy parts that we mentioned, overall, I think the acting was really great. I think the direction of the movie was really good too. And just in general, plot was amazing. I think it's a 2-hour movie if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So
it's a little
it is
over
very
2
much,
hours.
yeah. It is very much a grab a bag of popcorn and
Well, you're probably
get
not
to
going to
work.
want to grab a bag of popcorn for this movie.
Oh, okay. Well, grab a snack that you're okay with throwing up. Yeah.
This isn't a Saw movie, but no, it's definitely a movie where it's like you need to find the right time. It's definitely one where if you're gonna watch it, it needs to be at a certain time, and you need to be in a certain mood to watch it
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that are going on in it.
I'm just saying, some of the stuff I wondered why was in it, but then I'm like, no, I know why it's in here. I know why it's in here.
So yeah.
So
it like we said, it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at the end of the day, was a great movie, but you definitely, definitely probably not one you're gonna want to watch with the family.
No, I don't know about that one. Nope. I think you're better off just waiting up until 2 a.m. where everyone's asleep to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Shamefully.
Yeah, well, it is on Prime, so
yeah,
watch it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, fun movie. But going past that, if talk about atrocious movies,
atrocious movies. Have mercy.
Well, there's a difference between bad movies. There's bad movies that are made bad on purpose, and then there's bad movies that are just bad. And yeah, so I like the ones that are not, they're they're made bad on purpose. Those are the ones that I like.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
it's like you can obviously tell they're not supposed to be taken so seriously. You know?
So yeah, like movies like, I don't know, Velocipaster, awesome.
Lamageddon.
Lamageddon. And then one I watched recently was Santa Jaws.
Watched it recently too. Honestly, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a 4-star rating on Amazon Prime.
Oh, so that means it was brilliant.
Yeah, well, it goes to show how much people really like the movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, those kind of movies, you go into it knowing, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really expect a movie called Velocipaster to be any more better than Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on. But yeah, so yeah, when it comes to just bad movies, that they're just bad. And yeah, oh my god. So yeah, so if a movie, if one of those I like to call them Prime movies, because that's pretty much what they are. They're Prime movies, and those are the type of movies that were made bad on purpose, but they recognize it, and They just go with it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing like, the difference between an atrocious movie that you'll enjoy versus an atrocious movie that you want to enjoy is like comparing Velocipaster and the Winnie the Pooh movie that came out.
Oh my god!
Which I'm not going to go back to because we already talked about it and I don't want to talk about it no more. But I'm just making that there's a difference between atrocious and it's atrocious,
There's a fine line between wow, that was atrocious to wow, that was atrocious.
Exactly.
Where there's one of them, you're watching it and you're like, wow, this is bad, but I'm enjoying myself. Versus this is so bad I want to kill myself. Nice, easy difference.
Yeah, a nice in between fine line, and they're usually very easy to, find.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, when it comes to bad movies, I like to watch the ones where it's they're bad on purpose. And even with that Winnie the Pooh one, they were pretty much saying like this is bad on purpose, but we're trying to be serious. These other movies, they're clearly like, all right, you know what this is, dude. You look at the title called Velocipaster or Lamageddon or Killer Sofa or hell, you even go to Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. You know exactly what you're getting into. Mm-hmm. You know exactly what you're getting into. So
I mean, there's no way you're not, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's just, I like to just watch those just because they're so much fun. So yeah.
I do too. I mean, whenever you introduce a new one to me, I'm like, that sounds stupid, but I bet it's really fun to watch stupid shit,
Yeah. So just love them. They're lovable type movies. I mean, what's even funny is when I watched Killer Sofa, that movie, in all honesty, felt like they were legit trying to be a legit like horror movie, and the way they had the sofa working was. Do you know how sometimes on like those leather couches or chairs or sofas, they have the buttons?
Yeah,
Okay, they legit treat this like those buttons are eyes, and they shoot it a lot in the dark, and it's like, oh, that actually kind of works, but then every once in a while you see it move.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. This is supposed to be stupid. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And yeah, so while watching that one, I completely forgot like what I was watching there for a sec, because it did honestly feel like it was a legit attempt to make a like in the darkness monster. And
the idea isn't bad either. Killer Sofa, that makes sense.
Yeah. What if it was a sofa that was possessed by a spirit? That's pretty much what you got. Mm-hmm. And that's the movie that it is. I'm still waiting for Velocipaster 2.
I mean, they haven't announced anything, have they?
They did a Kickstarter and it got funded.
Oh, so now we're just waiting for it to
finish,
start production?
Yeah, or something like that. I don't really know what's going on with that.
Maybe they just ran off with the money. I don't know.
They honestly didn't look like take the money and run.
No, I'm sure something's gonna pop up eventually out of nowhere. Just Velociraptor 2, Velocipaster 2.
Let's see. Kickstarter says that it got 100 like a little over $100,000. Was the last update was December.
That's decent.
Yeah. Their goal is to have it finished by this year.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Seems like very promising news, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now all that's next is for them to release fucking Kung Fury 2. Because they have not released that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm still kind of angry about that.
Why?
Because it's Kung Fury. Did you not see it?
No.
Oh, wow, I'm failing. Okay.
Yeah, you are failing, Trevor. How dare you? Not...
Okay. So, you heard of Kung Fury?
Yeah, I have. It's that came out in 2015-ish, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. But it's you know, it's best if I have IMDb read it. Read what it's about. Because they typically have the best like log lines. They really do. Okay. In 1985, Kung Fury, the toughest martial artist cop in Miami, goes back in time to kill the worst criminal of all time, Adolf Hitler, aka Kung Fuer.
What the fuck is this movie?
It is fucking awesome. Please, it's 30 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Watch
it's on YouTube?
Yeah, it's fully on YouTube. And what's crazy about it is that it's pretty much all like green screen and a lot of like visual effects work, but it is brilliant and I love it. Like it's supposed to be kind of like a satire to like those like, you know, like the Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies.
Right. Yeah.
I mean it's terrible, but I love the name. Yeah. Adolf Hitler, aka Kung Fuer.
Kung Fuer. I swear.
That's terrible, but that is hilarious.
I just want to know how long it took them to come up with Kung Fury.
I don't know. But yeah, so it's 30 minutes on YouTube and it's awesome. I love it. I mean, yeah, it's not it knows what it is, but for what they do, man, it's awesome.
I'm going to have to watch it after this because it has 3 awards.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
IMDb gives it 8.0 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously. It's great.
That's crazy. Winner of the best short film. Nominee for best short film. Dang.
Yeah. Well, and then one of the best parts that I love about it is the soundtrack. It's a lot of like the synthwave type artists, but they also got David Hasselhoff to do the theme song.
No, that's crazy. David Hasselhoff did. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. I'm telling you, it is incredible. It's awesome, and that's the thing is when I first saw it, I'm like, oh my God, I need to see another one. And they are doing a second one, and it's going to be full length. It's going to be a full length feature. And yeah, so far, IMDb, all it says for Kung Fury 2 is the story will focus on Kung Fury's universe with no real connection to the short movie other than the lead character. But it's who they got to be in the second one.
All right, Spill, tell me.
So they got Alexandra Shipp, which I'm trying to think of other stuff I've seen her in. But the two biggest names that I saw was Michael Fassbender.
Michael.
He is young Magneto in the X-Men.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No way he's in this movie.
He's in the second one, but he's not in the first one.
He's not in the first one, but yeah, I mean he's gonna be in this movie.
He's gonna be in the second one. Yeah, please do me a favor. Like watch the first one because it is amazing. I just love it.
I already know I'm gonna love it because any Hitler movie that's supposed to be comedy are usually really good for some reason. But I understand 100%. I'm definitely gonna watch this.
So yeah, it's supposed to be like a satire to like the action over the top films of the 80s.
I mean, they really did it, and now they're really gonna pull it off with Arnold being in the next one.
Yeah, and he's playing a character called Mr. President.
Nice.
So yeah, but I love Fassbender's name, Colt Magnum.
Colt Magnum.
I love that. Yeah. So this was actually supposed to be out by now, but what I read what happened is because it's in post right now. But what I read about it was it apparently, there was a battle between, I think, financiers or something like that. So it kept getting delayed. And I'm really hoping it comes out this year.
Me too. I mean, that kind of sucks that that's even happening, considering the success of their first short film and knowing that there's a bunch of fans waiting for the second film. So I'm not too sure why they would be complaining, but
But you know what? Seriously, like there are some people, I told it to, and I showed them like little snippets of it, and they're like, "Oh my God, I have to watch that." So then the next day, I shared it with them. Then the next day they come back and they said, "Okay, I watched it." And I said, and they said, "That was the most amazing thing I've seen in a while." And I'm like, yeah, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to watch it after this. Like, seriously, just put it on, blast it. Because, I mean, it sounds amazing. First of all, it
is amazing.
Second of all, for someone like Arnold and this other actor, which I didn't know he was in the movie 300.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, I gotta know what it's like. I gotta know. And I'm just curious because I really want to know what they do to Hitler in this movie.
You need to watch it. No, it's 30 minutes on YouTube.
And yeah, I saw. I'm looking at the IMDb thing. It's 31 minutes long, and honestly, the trailer itself just looks even more stupid than when you explain.
Dude, it's awesome.
I bet it is.
Yeah, like please just watch it. It's incredible.
Oh, I will watch it.
To be honest, I have the soundtrack on my phone, and every once in a while, I love to just go in and listen to it. Yeah, it's incredible. I love it. But that I would not put in, the atrocious movies. I would put that in its own category.
Oh yeah.
Like just I
don't think they meant it to be an atrocious movie. I think it's just a really good movie that Could use a little bit more funding.
Well, no, it's no, wait until you watch it.
Okay.
Because that trailer, they basically made it to then get Kickstarter money. And then the money they got, it actually looks like pretty good. And then when I look at behind the scenes stuff, it was a lot of like kind of like what the green screen stuff like with Heist and Space with Markiplier did. Where it's like, okay, you can clearly tell it's green screen, but it doesn't take away from anything. So
okay, see that? Yeah.
But yeah, it is amazing. I love it. Every once in a while, I like to go back and rewatch it. And yeah, I would love to just talk about it in detail, but I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet, but I will. And when I do, then we can go on to about how amazing this movie is.
Yes, absolutely. I'm 100% sure on board for that.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like a action mixed with like sci-fi and that stuff.
I mean, that's always good. Yeah. I always appreciate a good sci-fi movie when it's done right, at least.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sci-fi, we can now move on to the topic at hand, the big mumbo jumbo. Because Saltburn was not our movie that we were going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, in honor of the new movie ISS, which I heard it's not getting super good reviews.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah, no. We are going to be talking about 2013's Gravity. And this was actually a toss-up because it was either going to be Gravity or Interstellar. And the reason why it was such a toss-up is because for the first, since the movie's been out for now like 10 years, I have not seen it.
Which is crazy to think that you've seen everything else but Gravity.
Yeah. I think mainly because when it came out, I knew everybody was talking about it. And I was kind of going like, yeah, okay, like, whatever. So I kind of just like brushed it off when it came out. And then finally I sat down and watched it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do understand why it's pretty high praised and why it was pretty much loved by the Academy.
Yeah, I mean, it did win, I think, 7 Oscars, if I'm not wrong. 7.
Yeah, you're spot on. Won 7 Oscars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, the story is pretty much plain and simple. 2 astronauts work together to survive after an accident leaves them stranded in space. And a bunch of these like sci-fi movies are basically saying like, oh yeah, in space no one can hear you scream, like Alien, or any of these like extraterrestrial type stuff. That's not the case here. It's just it's one of the scariest parts about working in space, especially. It's like, what if just an accident that very much can occur happens, and you have pretty much no one else to help with, so it becomes a pretty much race against the clock to try and live. Yeah.
You got it right.
Yeah.
Good on.
But yeah, after watching it, I do see why like movie is pretty much loved, and how it works in multiple ways. Because like I said, it doesn't take like the normal sci-fi formula that we see, where it's like a bunch of astronauts or like a ship crew that have to fight aliens or fight something that they haven't dealt with before. This movie is very much okay. You have these astronauts, and they're have to survive. They have to try and survive after an accident happens that they couldn't control, and this stuff very much could happen. So it feels very psychological. While only a handful of us will ever get the chance to go into space, this shows you like just how freaky this stuff can actually be.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like that, you know. And one thing that I actually wasn't um, expecting was a big chunk of the movie feels like it's shot in one take. I mean, they do cut a couple of times, but it's not like so bad. But it does feel like, you know, it is an hour and a half, which I was surprised how short it was. I was expecting it to be like 2 hours, but no, it's actually an hour and an hour and a half. And so it's very much like a 90-minute, you know, psychological race against the clock type thing. Because you know, they're in space and you're like, oh no, we only have like a certain amount of time to get from this location to this location, and we also have a certain amount of life in our oxygen tanks. So it becomes like, you know, like a race against the clock. You know, so I did like that, and I did like how suspenseful that aspect would be. Now, like I said, like only a handful of us will ever be able to go up into space, but it still feels very, you know, real. Like anybody can watch this and, you know, kind of see themselves in this situation where you would be going, okay, if I was in this situation, would I be doing exactly what they're doing, or would I be doing something different? But if I was doing something different, what would the outcome be? Because it's kind of like a choose your decisions wisely, or else, you know, you very much can die. So I did like that. It was very much like a, you know, what do you do? And
yeah, I think it leaves you on your toes, because you're like, what is she gonna do, or like what's gonna happen? How is she gonna use everything around her? Because at some point you kind of felt like she was gonna give up on herself. Right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of shocking how everything plays out. I really don't want to spoil the movie because, you know, it's an experience.
Yeah, so it is an experience.
So, but you definitely, you kind of keep asking yourself throughout the entire movie, like, how is she gonna get through this?
Yeah. And yeah, even though it's her, it's Sandra Bullock, and it's George Clooney, it's very much Bullock's movie. And yeah, I think both of them give very great performances. And yeah, I think I don't really see anybody else potentially, you know, being in the movie or being these characters, because they do such a great job at being very, very realistic. Where yeah, in the very beginning they're kind of like, you know, being, you know, kind of like jokey and, you know, stuff like that. But then once this stuff hits, it's like, oh god, like that's just nuts. Yeah, so it's just crazy. See, the Academy Awards, it won 7, was nominated for 11. So it won 7, it was nominated for 11. Won for best visual effects, best sound mixing, best sound editing, best best score, which yeah, I did love the score. Which looking at the score later, I found out that the guy who did it does a lot of stuff for Edgar Wright. won Best Film Editing, Best Directing, and Best Cinematography. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that kind of stuff. Like cinematography, like I said, the fact that it it feels very like almost like one take was quite good. Yeah, the sound was very was very was very top notch, and I'm very, you know, I'm glad that they went the route that they did, because a lot of the moments in the movie, are quite, scary. It's not, it's not like alien scary. It's more of just like, this would, if you were in space, this is the kind of stuff that astronauts would potentially have to deal with. So it freaks you out.
Because, two things freak a lot of people. It's like, what would happen in different scenarios being in like the ocean? Because, that alone is scary enough. And then outer space, because nobody really knows what goes up on there,
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just hear about it after everything has happened, and they're just like, oh no, that's horrible. I can't believe that happened,
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and yeah, space it's isolated in and of itself. So that's just one of the parts that makes it scary. So, yeah, I think overall, I think the movie was very, very good. And I definitely do see like a lot of, the hype, and a lot of people saying like how it was just a very great film. And yeah, I think personally, you know what? I'd give it a great.
A great?
Yeah, I think because it did, it felt very, suspenseful. Like, yeah, you really wouldn't know what's going on. You wouldn't really know how this would feel, but the tensions are really high. It's a sci-fi movie that basically says, okay, we're not here to basically, the stake is, we're not fighting an alien. We're not trying to save the world. Right now the stake is, we just had some crazy shit just happen to us out of nowhere that would happen, and we need to just survive. When in space everything is, there's no one out there to help you. So it was like, yeah, most of the time, yeah, it's like stakes are like super high. Like, yeah, we have to save the world. We have to, stop this, stop that. This is just, we need to just survive. So we need to just, find any way to survive outer space, and nobody is coming to help us. So that's pretty much the movie. They don't deal with aliens. They don't deal with any of that extraterrestrial crap that we've seen multiple times before. This is just, we need to survive and try to get home. Or it's either we get home in the next like 2-3 hours. I think it was what the movie said. Like, yeah, we have like 2 hours to get to this place, and then you have this amount of time to get to this, and then that's the last shot you're gonna have before your oxygen runs out and you will die. It's like, yeah, you have like a couple hours to get home. So like, will you make it in time? So I personally, I would give it a great.
I also would give it a great. I agree with a lot what you said. I feel like the movie really did keep you on your toes. And it's just a whole different type of fear than just like, oh, aliens are coming and you're in outer space. Now you got to fight for terrestrials, like,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you have a phobia of aliens, and that alone is scary, but also knowing that in outer space, there's literally no one other than like whoever you're stuck with can help you, and you're both in the same boat, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. I respect a lot about the plot because it does make you think. And even if you wanted to become an astronaut, it does make you also kind of double guess, like, oh, is this like a right career path for me? Or
yeah, maybe I should just go into plumbing.
Oh yeah, you know, it's a lot easier to just, I don't know, just not do anything in outer space at all.
Just don't do anything. Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. But I agree. I give this a great. The movie really did its job at scaring you and making you question throughout the entire movie. Obviously, the ending was like a relief, I guess, in a way.
Well, and then, you know, to me, the ending was very, like, it was one thing I was kind of going, like, okay, I guess that this is going to happen, but after all the crazy stuff that's been happening for the past, you know, hour and 20 minutes, this is just like a sigh of relief. You're like, yeah, you need a drink. You go ahead and have a beer.
Yeah.
Like,
I was hoping we'd see them like do something fun after all of that, you know, but
yeah, I need to see a post-credit scene where it's a scene where Sandra Bullock is sitting in a room with two other guys, and the two other guys, they're basically saying like, so what happened up there, but on the table there's like empty glasses, like she had so many drinks during it. Because just like, yeah, I need a drink.
I'll tell you what happened up there.
Yeah.
After a couple of drinks, that is.
Well, I'm sure she would say it, you know, if she was sober anyway, but it was kind of like a, you know what, I just survived space without pretty much anyone's help for the most part, so I need a drink. I deserve a day off.
More than a day off, my gosh.
Can I retire now?
Yeah, just give me a pension and, you know, I'll call it even from there.
Yeah. Can you give me a retirement pension and then we'll just, you know, call it even?
I mean, for what she went through in the movie, I would honestly fight for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I need a raise. Yeah. Well, yeah, I do see why, you know, a lot of people like really, really enjoyed the movie and why it was a big hit at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just, you know, am I kicking myself that I didn't see the movie earlier? Not really. But yeah, I do understand like people saying like, yeah, this was quite an experience to see in the theaters, you know, especially from the cinematography and especially from the sound mixing and editing. You know, that would have been, you know, pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
But you know, my pretty nice 4K TV that streamed in on Netflix works anyway. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on social. Listen to full shows on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the Cinematic Duo YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening.